and they got upset in that playoff game. Let's see if this team can recover.
Well, that's aggressive in capital letters with glitter, 7 underscore. I mean, that's the definition of aggressive.
Yeah, you can almost hear the cheerleaders doing the "Be Aggressive" chant behind him, and he listened to it.
Well, good field position to start the drive, but under the gun now here on 3rd and 8. Out of the gun, Goff. And able to find Higbee. It's complete. And he'll get into the end zone. Touchdown, Rams. An 18-yard touchdown grab. And the Rams tack on to their advantage.
A good tight end is a heck of a weapon for any quarterback, especially when you're able to create some mismatches. Sometimes they work against a linebacker, sometimes they work against a smaller defensive back. But when they find it, they go to it, and it often results in touchdowns.
Forced out to his left. And he's going to be hit and taken down in the backfield. Just nowhere to run that time. And the try for 2 is snuffed out.
Well, partner, since this new 2-point rule came into play, offenses spend a lot more time working on it. That means the defenses are doing the exact same thing.
This is taken about 7 yards deep. And he'll take this up past the 20 and down at the 22-yard line. The Saints offense on the field ready to get their drive started. And this offense last time turned it over, went for it on 4th, didn't get it. They're lucky, though, because no points against the team on the board, but we'll see how they respond.
Yeah, they've got to get a lot of credit to their defensive teammates, don't they? They had their backs on that last series, and because they did so, that allows a coach to still stay aggressive on offense and maybe go for it again in a similar situation.
I was going to say, maybe makes that offense feel good when you know you've got a defense making stands like that.
Yeah, that'll loosen up things a little bit, won't it? Maybe you'll play a little bit better the next time you have the ball.
And this shot downfield on 2nd down is brought in. And he is into the end zone. Touchdown, New Orleans. Jared Cook. 78 yards as his guys are on the board here in this first quarter. And that was just a fly route. There was no stop. He just went.
Yeah, and it was beautiful to watch because you have to set it up as you go along. Everyone knows he's fast, so you play him for that. That's the number one thing you want to take away. But as you go through a game, sometimes you vary the speed in which you come off the line of scrimmage and maybe start a little bit slower. Get him to stop his feet a little bit as a defensive back and then explode and go, as we saw there.
This is fielded a couple yards deep. And all that work, but he stopped where he ultimately would have been, and he's simply taken a knee, and that's the 25-yard line. The Rams offense heading out, and look, a lot of focus since the Super Bowl loss has been on Todd Gurley. The offseason revealed he had an arthritic component to his knee for whatever that's worth. But the Rams went out, they got Darrell Henderson in the 3rd round of the draft. They made re-signing Malcolm Brown a priority. What do you make of this Rams backfield starting 2019?
Well, the number one priority is to find out if Todd Gurley will play at the same level he's been playing. And the Rams seem optimistic that he can. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they cut down some of his carries and touches in order to get him through the season a little bit better. But last year, they were rescued by C.J. Anderson late in the season, what he did as a backup. So Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson, the rookie, they have to play to that level in order for this Rams offense to continue to purr.
On 2nd and 9, Goff. And the Saints pressure gets him. Brought down for a sack. Cameron Jordan wreaking havoc with a sack. You never want to give up a sack. From the O-line's perspective, they hate it for several reasons, especially because they felt like they let little brother down back there in the pocket.
Oh, no doubt. They have a ton of pride, and they go into every job wanting to keep that guy clean. They want that uniform.
Oh, the pressure too great, and he goes down once more. A.J. Klein providing a little deja vu, back-to-back sacks, and now they're staring at a 4th and long. Man, he got in there so quickly, Charles. What could the offense have done to adjust and account for that?
But what you're hoping is that you figure out and you see and get a clue that maybe there's going to be some pressure coming at you, and you change the blocking schemes. Maybe you go to max protection. The biggest one's maybe you bring your running back in to try and keep you clean. But in that case, that didn't happen. Zero accountability, and a sack resulted.
Now on 4th down, they throw the deep ball, but it winds up to be incomplete. A surprising move to go for it, and predictably, at least somewhat predictably, it doesn't pay off. And boy, possession here turns over with the football already being in the red zone.
20, 5-9. Hey, come on out here, come get some. Come get some. Come on here, come get some.
Breeze now on 1st down. And he's going to go down. Back at the 27-yard line, he's sacked. The Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. And it'll make this a 2nd and long.
I'm starting to feel for that quarterback back there. I mean, you know me. Normally, don't have a lot of empathy for the QB, right? In this case, definitely. He's been on constant duress this entire game. I don't know how he's surviving back there.
And to think, there's still a long way to go in this football game. They try to throw on 2nd down, but this one is incomplete.
The positioning here is key. As a defensive back, you're taught 99% of the time, make a play on the football. But in this case, making a play on the man was all the difference. That's what forced the incompletion.
That's caught. It's Thomas. And he's able to work it here to the 8-yard line. They do get 18, but even that won't be quite enough. It's 4th down.
Come on, one thing for sure. You know that Michael Thomas is going to be the target on a 3rd down pass, and Drew Brees finds him and keeps this drive moving.
The Saints on 4th down last year, 13 of 16, 2nd best in the league, and they'll try it here. And he finds Cook. And he'll take it into the end zone for the Saints touchdown. Jared Cook. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns here so far. And the Saints have taken the lead. Lutz with the extra point, and the decision to just kick the extra point winds up successful. So that drive, 4 plays, and it ends with a touchdown for New Orleans. After the touchdown, Lutz to kick it off.
Let's go, baby.
Todd Gurley and the offense, they get set and trot back out there now. He's been good. They've utilized him well, but they're losing here in the 2nd quarter. What might they change offensively?
I think that what you try and do is expand how you get the ball to him a little bit. Get him out in open space, maybe swing the ball to him. What's that they used to call it in the West Coast offense, the long handoff? Yeah. Serve as your running play that way, as well as continue to feed him the football. Some of these runs now may pop bigger later in the game because of the effects of running it. Sometimes people, after a while, they don't want to tackle him anymore, or they get tired, or they get out of position, or he runs through tackles. Continue to feed him the ball. He's having that kind of game.
Yeah, might they get him the ball in some space in some different ways here. An incomplete pass leads to 2nd and 10 from the 25.
Cornell.
Goff now looks to throw. That's caught by his tight end, Gerald Everett. And he's upended at the 33 following a good pickup of 8. 8 yards on the completion, but now they face 3rd down. 2nd down pass play got him 8 yards. Now they've got a 3rd and a couple remaining. They'll try and pick up the first with Gurley. He is going nowhere as he is enveloped behind the line.
Well, they picked up a portion of it, but not all that they needed. Now that leads to a decision on 4th and 1. Let's see what they decide to do.
They failed once in this spot earlier, but the offense will stay out to go for it on 4th down. Goff now looking to throw. And he's taken down here by the Saints. Demario Davis coming in for the sack that time. So they've gone for it twice now on 4th down in this game, and both times unsuccessful.
I wish we could hear the headsets now between the head coach and the offensive coordinator. Now that they're 0 for 2. If they get into a 3rd situation, head coach might say, hey, you got anything for this one? Might get radio silence back.
Into a double team, and it's intercepted. Picked off by the linebacker, Corey Littleton. He couldn't get the hook up there that time with Thomas. Well, Charles, if you think so far in the early part of the preseason, who has stood out? If you take a peek back at the draft, the first round, it was pretty defensively minded, but there were 3 quarterbacks taken. Kyler Murray first, Daniel Jones 6th, Dwayne Haskins 15th. Of those guys, they've looked pretty good.
I agree with you, Brandon. When you talk about those 3 quarterbacks, and you're right, the rest of the draft, we're talking about big linemen, right? We're talking about defensive players, not a lot of skilled players in the first round. But let's take the quarterbacks very quickly. Kyler Murray, by acclamation, went to Arizona. Everyone excited about it. And I think his team remains excited about his prospects. They're eager to see him play. He became the starter as soon as he was drafted. Daniel Jones, that was a different situation in New York. The fans weren't real excited about him coming in, but the reason they drafted him has a similar demeanor and talent to Eli Manning, and he's acquitting himself quite nicely in the early going. And Dwayne Haskins a little more up and down in Washington, but they love the big arm of this guy, and he's back at home. Remember, he grew up in Potomac, Maryland.
Throwing on third, Goff. Eluding the pressure right. And that will be incomplete as well. So it doesn't look like they're going to be able to build off the turnover.
Well, the defense certainly did its part. It got them the football. But you're exactly right. It looks like they're going to have to punt this one away. And it's not a turnover, but doesn't it feel like one after grabbing the momentum with the defensive play?
Yeah, and they had all that momentum after getting the football. Now zapped right back in the... Trying to find Cup, but it's intercepted. Picked off by the linebacker, Demario Davis. Now the Rams will signal for a timeout, their second. That's their second, so they'll have 1 remaining here in this second quarter. We'll be right back.
Ready, yellow lady, 59. Silver.
Now a first down carry. It's Kamara. And able to push forward for right around 3 yards down to the 42. And we've hit the 2-minute mark in this first half of action.
Brings up 2nd and 7 at the 42-yard line.
Yellow lady.
A reminder that when halftime rolls around, Jonathan Coachman will have all the highlights and analysis of this first half of play from our studios in Orlando. And this winds up a pickup of 2, maybe 2.5 to about the 39.
Well, he hasn't made much of an impact in the running game thus far, and after that last run, not much is going to change in that area.
He hasn't been able to get anything going, and really the offensive line not helping him much. Breeze now. And the pressure gets to Breeze as he's taken down.
The amount of sacks that they've absorbed in this game is absolutely extraordinary. Let's just face it. This offensive line, flat out, cannot handle this pass rush. It's been demonstrated time and time again.
And they're going to go for this. Just 1 for 3 so far on 4th down tries. They're trying again. They'll go for it. It's Breeze. Open man is Michael Thomas. And he'll go down, but not before getting this inside the 30. A big pickup there, 20 yards as they convert on 4th. If you're going to blitz, likely going to leave you in man coverage with this guy, and that is less than ideal.
It is, because just about any offense that has an elite receiver, if you blitz and have him in man coverage, you're going to him, even if he has an elite defender on him, because he usually knows where the ball is before the defender does.
Now, meanwhile, a pass that should have been intercepted, but it winds up falling incomplete.
And that's one he's got to be happy to have back. There wasn't a hole open in the zone.
You'd have to think on early downs like that first down there, need to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, fortunately for him, got a couple more downs to play with.
To throw once more on 2nd and 10. Breeze. And a big turnover there as his guys will get the football back.
So that's back-to-back drives where they've thrown an interception. Ordinarily, we look at the offense and say, what's going on with your scheme? Maybe we should look at the defense and just give them a whole lot of credit. They've got them frustrated right now.
They'll start out here with a jet sweep. Oh, he's got a little daylight. Brandon Cooks. He's at the 40. Past the 20. Touchdown, LA. Brandon Cooks, 93 yards, and the Rams are going to jump back in front.
And while that touchdown does not give them an insurmountable